On paper, the Dallas Mavericks are killing it this year. They're at 6-3 for their record and third, and that's good enough for third in the West. But if you've actually sat down and watched them, I've watched a couple of games there this year. It just doesn't look quite right. And honestly, their record is a little bit better than they are. They have wins against Toronto, Houston, two against San Antonio, Sacramento, and then last night that thriller against Boston. Um, yeah, none of those teams are particularly impressive wins. They really haven't beaten anyone yet that I consider like a team of substance. And the hiring of Jason Kidd, I hate all the criticism he's gotten. I like him a little bit more than I should. I don't know why I've got a soft spot for him, but people talk about him as if he's like the worst coach to ever, coach in the NBA. He's no Jim Boylan, and he's kind of on the right track with this team. I think at least he's trying to get Luka off the ball more, which I think is going to be what needs to happen for this team to ultimately win a title. They can't be so Luka dependent. Although, while his thought process is correct, the actual execution of it isn't always the best. It looks a little archaic as far as being from like a bygone era of basketball. I think he's kind of going to what he knows from when he played, and basketball has just changed a lot. I could do without any Dorian Finney-Smith post-ups. He can do that a little bit, but like I don't like that as like, oh, we've drawn up a play for Dorian Finney-Smith to post up. It's just kind of weird. And then the Porzingis piece, like I think, I hate to say it, I think I'm finally giving up on him. He just hasn't been good. He takes a lot of bad shots. Last night in the Boston game in particular, like he caught some pass from Luka. It was a crazy pass. He catches it on like the elbow and he has a chance to go to the basket, but he just pulls up for this weird mid-range shot. He ends up getting fouled on it, but it doesn't make it a good decision. And then there was a play in the fourth quarter where he just fired from like 40 feet for no reason and just clanked it off the backboard. Yeah, I don't know. He looks, as far as his interest in playing basketball, it's very weird watching him play. He kind of just looks zoned out, like he's not really fully mentally there. Like looks like he's like 80% mentally there in the arena, and then the other 20% of his brain is off wandering somewhere else. It's very bizarre to see. Also, Porzingis and Luka just look like they straight up hate playing together. I think of it a couple of moments in the Atlanta game in their season opener where Porzingis, Luka's doing his thing, like isolating, and Porzingis doesn't look like he's ready for the ball. He's looks like he's disinterested. He's, just not engaged at all. And then there was a play later where Luka dumped it into Porzingis in the post for one of these weird Jason Kidd post-up plays that he likes. And Porzingis is not really a post scorer. He likes to get his post touches, but he's just not very good down there as a post scorer. And Luka damn near turned his back on the play and started walking up the court. It was very weird. And then just kind of the body language between those two. It's strange. It looks like they hate playing together. As far as they're trying to get Luka off the ball more, but the pieces that they have on this team just do not make that a realistic possibility. Brunson has been really good for them, and he's a nice guard piece. But more as a third guard, I would say like a first guard off the bench. If they had like another quality playmaking guard that they could go with in the starting lineup, that would be ideal, but they just don't. It's just not on the roster. And then it's clear when they do try to go away from Luka and get him, a little bit of rest offensively or get him off the ball a little bit, the Mavericks look completely lost and like they have no offensive teeth without Luka doing everything for them. And that's where you would hope that Porzingis would help you. But he just doesn't. He takes bad shots, and it's very strange. And then defensively for the Porzingis piece, like he just needs to be better. Like he's still pretty mobile, at least in a straight line, but his lateral quickness is just terrible, and he kind of gets beaten up a little bit in the post. Like you would expect him at 7'3" and like a fairly mobile guy to be awesome defensively, but he just isn't. Yeah, I don't know. They need to make some serious moves if they're serious about contending. But the problem is, I just don't know who they're going to find that's going to be interested in Porzingis. Um, you know, I looked at the Hornets, like maybe they would be interested, and you could do some Terry Rozier, maybe Kelly Oubre trade, or Detroit if they're desperate to get like a big name in there alongside Cade Cunningham, just kind of for the novelty of the name. I think that's unfortunately what you're looking at for like a Porzingis trade, is you're looking for a team that doesn't really have a lot of star power that needs to sell tickets, and they can tell their fan base, hey, look, we got, Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn, like come down to the arena and watch the team. I think that's the only way you're getting him moved. For Detroit, you could do Jeremy Grant and Olynyk, Grant, Joseph, and Josh Jackson. I don't know if any of these teams would be interested in this, but this is just, I was like, who are the teams that would possibly be interested in acquiring Porzingis? And like, there's just not many. There's also the Houston Rockets. If, since they're years away from winning, they don't really necessarily care about committing to Porzingis for 3 more years. You could do a Porzingis and Cauley Stein for John Wall. That would also mean the Mavericks are pretty desperate. For the Mavericks, their benefit would be they get 1 less year with this huge salary. While John Wall makes more per year, I think having 1 less year committed to him would probably, be helpful to them. I doubt they do that. I just can't. I still can't see Wall being moved. The Sacramento Kings, maybe you could talk them into it. The package would probably be Buddy Hield and Mo Harkless once Mo Harkless is available to be traded. Don't know if the Kings would really be interested in that. They've already got a weird Marvin Bagley situation. And obviously the Buddy Hield situation is weird too, but I don't know that they're really interested in Porzingis. They've got Rashawn Holmes, who they like and who they should like. And then they've got Tristan Thompson as the backup. Not a lot of trades out there. But going forward, if by some miracle they get out of this Porzingis thing, it can get another playmaker in there, another guard who can kind of get his own. The Luka stuff, if they can get him, in the post, it looks like that would be really cool. Like, he's really good in the block and in the paint. I've never seen a player who understands driving angles quite as well as he does. He's not very quick, but he still kind of just makes it work. He still gets around people or gets into people's bodies, and is able to finish around the basket with floaters and other stuff. If you could get him at like some mid-post touches, that would be really cool. As it stands now, he rarely, if ever, catches the ball below the free throw line extended. So he's basically always at the top of the key, having to work against the entire defense with everybody looking at him. And, to his credit, he's so awesome that he makes it work. But as far as like winning a championship, I just don't see how you can do this and win a title. I mean, we saw the best case scenario of this with the Houston Rockets, with the Harden Rockets, and they were never quite able to get over the hump. And that was a team completely designed around that philosophy. Whereas this current team with the Mavericks, they're kind of forced into that philosophy. And I think they would like to get away from that. But as far as the surrounding pieces, they're not as well equipped to play that style as those Rockets teams were. They were designed with that in mind. I also don't love the center stuff for them. They have Porzingis, so you would hope it would be really good, but Dwight Powell is kind of the main guy at center for them. At least watching them, it seems like that's the case. If they were to ship out Porzingis for a guard, I think they could survive with some combination of Powell and Maxi Kleba. But they could definitely stand to improve on that with that position as well. So really, you're looking at like needing to acquire like a playmaking guard and like maybe a more defensive minded center, because Cauley Stein isn't really getting it done as much either. They've got a lot of centers that you're like on, but like nobody that you're like outright angry about. I mean, they're third in the West, so it's hard to complain. But as I mentioned earlier, their wins aren't particularly impressive. And I just don't see how this Porzingis Luka combo is going to continue to work, especially if they go on a losing streak. I mean, I could see them very easily being at each other's throats, but so hopefully they get Porzingis moved. I'm hoping for the weird trade to the Nets to get Kyrie in here. I think Kyrie and Luka would be really fun, but I would just like to see Luka able to get off the ball a little bit more, come off of screens, just make his life a little bit easier. And I think we would really start to see what he could potentially be as a player.